Last week, something unusual happened during Dhanteras. So, as you know, Dhanteras is celebrated on the 13th day of Krishna Paksha in the month of Kartik, which marks the beginning of Diwali. In fact, Dhan means wealth, Teras means the 13th day, and Hindus all around the world observe it by purchasing precious metals, especially gold, to usher in good fortune in their lives. So, the unusual thing that happened is that for the first time ever, the demand for silver during Dhanteras was more than that of gold. So figure this, while the sales of gold were about 15% lower than last year, the demand for silver surged by 30-35%, which had never been seen before. Of course, a 28% rise in gold prices did play its part in dampening the mood, but when we account for the fact that the price of silver has risen by an even higher 36% in the past 1 year, one can't help wonder why there's this sudden interest in a metal that's often described as poor man's gold. Honestly, while researching for this video, I struggled to find a single pessimistic report on silver, and there are people like Keith Neumeyer who are saying silver might even reach $100 an ounce, even higher. But if you don't want to get that far, there's also a report by Motilal Oswal Financial Services that's predicting the price of silver to rise by another 28% by the end of 2025. And therefore, in this video, I'll give you the complete lowdown on silver, covering its various uses, the benefits of silver, what drives its value. A quick comparison with gold, including the gold-silver ratio, is now the right time to invest in silver, which I'll say is the most important section. How to invest in it, how has silver performed as an asset class, and much more. Let's begin. Okay, so let's start with its application, that is, where all is silver used. So firstly, as a store of value, silver has been used for over 5,000 years, and even today coins like this one are produced by UK's Royal Mint. This particular one is a 2024 1-ounce silver Britannia with an effigy of King Charles III that contains exactly 1 ounce of 99.99% pure silver and is classified as British legal tender with a face value of £2, but because the value of silver in it is more like £30, this coin is used more as a collectible item. Another use of silver is of course jewelry, and as some of the recent excavations at Rakhigadi shows, how extensively silver was used in ornaments and utensils in the Harappan civilization some 7,000, 8,000 years ago. But interestingly, silver's demand isn't really driven by jewelry or its role as a store of value, but instead it's largely industrial, with more and more of it finding its way into our mobile phones, our laptops, space exploration, and even renewable energy solutions. For example, electric vehicles, EVs, use twice the amount of silver as compared to a vehicle with an internal combustion engine, and with the EV market on a steady upward trajectory, the demand for silver here is set to soar. Silver is also a vital component in making solar panels, with a typical 3 by 5 foot panel containing up to 20 grams of silver. And in terms of volumes, and this number might surprise you, India imported over 4,000 metric tons of silver between January and April of 2024. So that's 4 months, which is more than the 3,600 odd metric tons we imported in all of 2023, and the bulk of it can be attributed to the rise of solar cell and module manufacturing. My point is, unlike gold, which is used more for jewelry and for keeping as a reserve, a majority of the silver is consumed in real-world applications, which brings me to the real-world question: what drives the value of silver? It's an important question for us investors, and I think there are three main things to watch out for. The first is, of course, demand and supply, more specifically supply. And with mining not keeping pace with the requirements for the last 4 years, the price of silver has been in an uptrend for some time now. Industrial output is next, the level of manufacturing activity, and a number to watch out for is the JP Morgan Global Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index. And if this index is on the rise, then the demand for silver and therefore the price of silver also goes up. And the third driver of note is the level of inflation, and generally the price of silver has shown an upward trend whenever there's an increase in inflation. Now, in terms of performance, the price of silver has seen it all over these last 30 years. The 1990s until the year 2004 was a period of stability which would have irked most investors. This was then followed by 6 years of acceleration, with the price rising by some 600%. Then came the decline, with prices crashing by 70%. And again, we are seeing a period of growth, with silver delivering a CAGR of 20% since March of 2020. So silver is a volatile commodity, and if one connects it back with those three drivers I explained earlier, the supply, industrial output and inflation, timing one's entry into silver is rather important with yearly prices revealing significant swings. In terms of volatility, notice how high the standard deviation goes, which also means there's a lot of money to make when you time your entry and exit properly. I'll dive into this part, that is whether now is the right time to invest in silver in just a moment, but just to close loop this, silver, much like gold, has provided strong protection at times of crisis, like what we saw during the COVID pandemic at the start of the Russia-Ukraine war, etc., with silver doing a lot better than equities. In fact, silver has a moderately strong positive correlation with gold, that is, they often move in the same direction. It has a weak correlation with equities, which also turns negative during economic downturns, which is why when the stock markets are volatile, investors tend to pick more of silver. And with regards to bonds and during inflationary periods, silver tends to move in the direction of bond yields, and therefore silver is often considered a hedge against inflation. In that context, I won't call my newsletter a hedge, but if you have been following it closely, what it does offer is a number of well-researched investment stories like Zaggle Prepaid's impressive growth and international ambitions, the demerger of Raymond Lifestyle and a potential mispricing opportunity, why Garware High-Tech Films is likely to double its EPS over the next 2 years. The recent stock market fall has improved valuations in many of these counters. So if you haven't subscribed to my newsletter, then kindly do so now. Do go through my write-up on each stock and also tell your friends about it. Right, so is this a good time to invest in silver? Let's go one by one, starting first with supply. And the fact is, what we are seeing now and for the last 3 years is the biggest supply deficit in the history of the silver market. It's also something Mr. Anil Agarwal of Vedanta recently highlighted, where the opening line of his post read, "Can silver become more precious than gold?" I even read through a bunch of articles, and everyone seems to indicate that the supply deficit could tighten even further in 2025 as annual production struggles to keep pace with industrial demand, especially from EVs, military equipment, and of course solar panels. Which brings me to factor number 2, demand. And with solar manufacturers already consuming around 20% of the annual silver supply, it's predicted that by 2050, solar panel production is expected to use anywhere from 85 to 98%. Yes, you heard that right, 85 to 98% of the current global silver reserves. So supply check, demand check, then let's look at geopolitics, and with whatever is happening all over, US, Russia, Iran, China, India, the Middle East. With a lot happening, there's a big reason for investors to keep some of their assets in safer places like precious metals, which is where silver comes in along with gold, platinum, and palladium investing. Another very interesting angle is that of central bank purchases. You see, central banks like the Federal Reserve, ECB, RBI, Bank of Japan, PBOC, etc. have traditionally been buyers of gold, not silver, with our own Reserve Bank of India holding over 850 metric tons of the yellow metal. But then just last month, the Central Bank of the Russian Federation announced that it plans to purchase silver as part of its reserves, a move that could significantly raise the price of silver in the coming months, especially if other central banks decide to follow suit. And finally, there's the gold-silver ratio, which is simply the current price of gold divided by the current price of silver. For instance, at the time of recording this video, 1 gram of gold was at 8,174 rupees, while 1 gram of silver was available at exactly 99 rupees. So 8174 divided by 99 gives us a gold-silver ratio of 82.5. It's a ratio that's quite popular with people who trade in precious metals, as they use it to take a long position in one metal and a short position in the other. So while this ratio is high, like what we saw in March of 2020, it's a signal for the traders that the price of gold is likely to drop as compared to the price of silver, and that's exactly what happened as gold prices fell by 17% between August of 2020 and March of 2021, while the price of silver remained flat. Now this image might give you the impression that we are somewhere around that average, but that's definitely not the case, and the long-term average of the gold-silver ratio is more around the 60 mark. So theoretically, when this ratio goes way above 60, as is the case now, it indicates that perhaps silver is undervalued and probably gold is overvalued. In fact, the points at which the gold-silver ratio have been the highest is typically when some crisis is happening, a conflict, pandemic, stock market bubble, etc. And it's all leading to an economic recession. Of course, I have to point out here that looking at any of these factors we've discussed, the supply, the demand, the geopolitical situation, the possibility of including silver in central bank reserves, and of course the gold silver ratio. My point is, any of this in isolation is not enough to take a call on investing in silver. But from what I've heard and read, now is a unique situation where a lot of these things are coming together and there's a lot more warmth when it comes to investing in silver. Alright, now that the case has been presented, let's understand how one can invest in silver. So traditionally, the buying of silver in India has been in its physical form. Jewelry, silver bars, biscuits, silver coins, all of these are very popular and you can buy those from any jeweler of repute like Tanishq, Kalyan, Malabar, Joya Lucas, etc. and also from online stores like Flipkart, Amazon, Senco, etc. Now, while you can buy physical silver for jewelry, decoration and even gifting purposes, I must say it's not very suitable for investment purposes, and that's on three counts. A, there are impurities and that will get deducted from the cost when you try to sell it. Secondly, silver, especially jewelry, requires regular maintenance in terms of polishing and shining. And thirdly, there's storage costs like renting a bank locker, which can be higher in the case of silver as people tend to buy it in bulk for the reason that it's a lot cheaper than gold. A second way of investing is digital silver, and platforms like MMTC PAMP, DigiGold, Augment, etc. offer this service wherein you can buy and store gold digitally. You can sell it whenever you want to. The digital silver is backed by actual physical silver that's stored by the provider. And please remember, there's a 3% GST on purchase. There might be some transaction costs as well. I'm not sure of that. But most importantly, there's always a buy rate and a sell rate. And as you can see here, there's a differential of 3.5%, which you should account for, especially if you're playing the buy-sell game tactically over the short term. Other ways of investing include silver futures and derivatives, a feature that MCX, the multi-commodity exchange, offers. And because I have no idea how it works, I'll request you to read this note on Zerodha Varsity for a better understanding of it. There's SSB, Sovereign Silver Bond. ये क्या है? Okay, I read it somewhere कि ऐसा कुछ आ सकता है, although I'm not sure how many of you will go for it. And then there are alternatives like stocks of companies that are into silver mining. So companies like Hindustan Zinc, which is a significant silver producer, and maybe NMDC, which is getting into it, but it's not a big number as of now. And finally, there's the investing option I really want all of you to focus on, which are the silver related ETFs and mutual funds. Now, this may come as a surprise, but it was only in September of 2021 that the SEBI, the Securities and Exchange Board of India, allowed mutual fund companies to offer silver-based financial products. The first AMC to introduce a silver-related exchange-traded fund was ICICI Prudential, which launched its silver ETF in January of 2022. And since then, while a number of relatable schemes have been introduced by others, between Nippon India and ICICI Prudential, they share like 70% of the 12,000 odd crore AUM that silver-based instruments have garnered so far. At this stage, I should also add, while there are mutual fund options as well, these are typically fund of fund options. So under the FOF option, like the ones offered by HDFC, Aditya Birla, Nippon, ICICI Pru, etc., the underlying asset in each of these is their respective ETF offering. So if one understands this, we more or less understand large parts of the mutual fund as well. So let's stick to ETFs. Okay, very simply, a silver ETF tracks the domestic price of silver, thereby allowing investors to gain exposure to it without having to hold the physical metal. That being said, these exchange-traded funds are required to invest in physical silver themselves, which is done in 30 kg bars of 99.9% purity in conformity to the London Bullion Market Association, the LBMA's good delivery standards, which is also what the SEBI prescribes. Of course, you don't have to buy 30 kilograms worth of silver for this, and the ETF or mutual fund takes care of that by fragmenting it to as low as 1 gram of silver, which as of today is some 96-97 rupees. Actually, let's do this. So I'm on Zerodha Kite. I search for silver. Okay, so there are quite a few options here. Let's go with silver IETF. So whenever you see IETF, it means this is an offering by ICICI Prudential. It's a bit like what you see with Bees, as in Bees is simply a series of ETFs by Nippon India, and in the same way, IETF is what you type to see all of ICICI Prudential ETFs. Okay, so silver IETF is available at some 95 rupees a unit. Let's put up 1,000 units of it. I click on buy and that's it. That's how easy it is to buy an ETF, and not that a mutual fund is difficult, but then a common query I've heard is that SIPs aren't available for ETFs, which is absolutely incorrect. And I've been doing ETF SIPs for many years now, and most of the brokerage platforms have this functionality built in. In terms of queries, there's this common one on the expense ratio, and most ETFs charge between 0.4 and 0.5% in expenses, which means the mutual fund, the FOF expense ratio might be 0.15, maybe 0.2% extra. The second point of consideration is around liquidity, and a good way of assessing volumes is by examining this page on NSE India's website that explains this across different exchange traded funds. Again, unless you're dealing in crores of rupees worth of silver ETFs, I think you're more or less sorted if you go with the bigger names here. And the last of our considerations is the impact cost, and again the NSE website does a good job of identifying that bit, and frankly this doesn't seem to be too much of a botheration, at least on a practical basis. Of course, for a deeper understanding of ETF specific metrics, what's the significance, how to calculate each of them, the taxation, etc., please watch this previous video of mine. But to list the benefits of investing via silver ETFs and by consequent silver mutual funds, here are the key points. These financial products are very accessible. Remember, a unit of silver IETF is just 95-96 rupees. There are no making charges like what you have with physical jewelry. There are no storage costs. You don't have to incur any storage costs like a bank locker. Silver helps you with diversification, and I for one have been advocating having 5 to 10% of your wealth in commodities like gold and silver. The ETF is backed by physical silver, which is 99.9% pure. There is adequate liquidity, and buying and selling of units is super easy. Right, so this video was not as much about how to invest, but more on, is now the right time to invest in silver? That's how I started this inquisition, and as I continue to research, the benefits of investing in silver started to get more and more profound. I mean, there's demand, and a lot of demand for silver thanks to EVs, solar panels, smartphones, and other industrial uses. There's not much supply, which is another way of saying the prices can go up from here. One of the central banks is doing something that's never been done, that is seriously looking at silver as a currency reserve along with gold. Silver is a great hedge to have during disturbing times, and that's what the world we are living in is right now in. The gold silver ratio is around the 80 mark, which is on the higher side. And lastly, we are seeing greater adoption of silver even amongst households, with many opting for silver over gold for this year's Dhanteras. I don't know about you, but I'm certainly hopeful and expecting a bit more dhan to be generated from silver over the next few months. And if you're seeing that same chandi ki chamak, then do let me know in the comments box below. I sincerely hope you learned something new in this video, and if you found it useful, please do share it with your friends over WhatsApp groups. Once again, thank you for your time. Do like this video, subscribe to my newsletter, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you very soon. Until then.